Sarah Malia, co-founder and creative producer of Freehand Studios and Pungulu Power Productions, two Nairobi-based digital arts and social impact studios. They are dedicated to creating and disseminating compelling, inclusive, and culturally relevant content in the form of illustrated books, graphic novels, and animation. Sarah spearheads the production of diverse content, overseeing notable projects such as Jua Kali graphic novel series, which is a collaboration between Nairobi and Cape Town's artists and academics, as well as Uli and Tata's African Nursery Rhymes, a 2D animated series for children that follows the adventure of a brother and a sister in the search of Africa's disappearing nursery rhymes. Sarah is dedicated to producing content that enhances impact and the work of social movements. And this is her story.
Yeah, so I'm originally from a small island called Malta, where I grew up till I moved to Kenya. It is between North Africa and Southern Europe.
Okay.
It's a very, very small place, tight-knit community. But my father is a painter, and my grandfather was an activist and a politician.
Okay.
So yes, I was always very interested in what was happening in the world and how art was in some way or form interlinked with that. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I studied development studies and I'm a social scientist.
Right.
But art was always part of what I did.
Yeah.
So at the age of 18, I started volunteering in refugee camps. And
That's
was
back home?
back home,
Okay.
yes, in Malta. And I would always incorporate arts into the activities that I used to run in the centers. Then my cousin was working in Nairobi, and she said, "Oh, come and visit me." So at the age of, I don't know, I think 18 or 20, I forgot.
Yes.
I came here.
Yes.
And I stayed here.
Did you leave or you did not leave?
Well, I did leave, but
Okay.
I kept coming back until I eventually moved here,
Okay.
where I worked for Power 254 with Boniface Mwangi,
Yes.
which was incredible.
Okay.
Because straight away I landed here, and I was surrounded by artists and activists, poets, painters, graffiti artists.
Yes.
It's actually where I met my partner in life and work, Chief Nyamoya, as well.
Yes.
I met him at Power 254
Awesome.
quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
How
many years back?
So I started working at Power 254. When was it? I think it was 2013.
All right.
2013.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, so I was introduced to the wonderful world of arts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also kind of activism within Nairobi.
How different was it between what you saw in Nairobi and back home, having experienced both?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Again, I'm from a very, very small place.
Okay.
It's a very small island, which I love very much and I do miss.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there was part of me that was always curious. People who come from small villages, how they want to leave.
Yes, you all want to leave the
you
town.
want to see the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, as soon as I came here, I think we're also a British colony, so we speak English as well, English and our mother tongue,
which is
back home, which is Maltese. It's like a mix of Arabic and Italian. Yes, mostly Arabic.
Yeah, because you do look Italian actually.
Yes. I'm from that area.
Yeah.
But I came here and I felt at home straight away, and I
Good.
think part of it was I landed in a very interesting and vibrant community.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just, how do you say, the people that I met challenged me.
Very good.
So yeah, that was the beginning of my story in this space.
So you meet Chief, and then you get inspired to.
Yes. So I worked in film before.
Right.
So I worked as an arts coordinator, right, at Power 254.
Right.
But I always had a special interest in film.
Okay.
When I was very young, my dad would would teach me lessons by showing me films, right? So from the youngest age, I remember him taking me to cinemas, and you know, he'd always like buy cassette tapes and we'd watch them together.
Yeah.
So it was always a very central thing in my life.
Right.
So then when I started working in the migration space and for refugee rights and migrant rights, film is a very powerful way to tell stories and to share people's stories,
yes,
right?
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I started producing short films.
Okay.
I've worked on some impact campaigns as well for documentaries. So then when Chief and I got together, I actually used to work for another organization that taught refugees how to make film, and I was doing comms and partnerships for them.
Yeah.
And Chief was just like, "Come and work with me. Let's start. Let's do something together."
Yeah.
Now, Chief has been involved in comics and animation for a very long time.
Yes.
He's one of the vets.
Yeah.
I knew
a very good vet.
A good vet. A good vet. I didn't know much about this space, to be honest, but I loved graphic novels. I loved cartoons, and of course, then when you enter the world, you love it even more and more, right?
Very true.
I also liked, how do I say this? I also liked how you're working with a team, but it's quiet. I found film sets to be really chaotic and nerve-wracking, and I'd always have this feeling before I'd get on a film set, slight anxiety. And it's very different in animation. It's very interpersonal because it's such teamwork. But it's also quiet, you know. And I became a mom at the same time, so it kind of suited my life very well.
Because then you have time to be able to spend with the babies.
Exactly. So Chief and I started out by founding Freehand Studios.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And
what inspired that?
So again, I come from the social science activist kind of development background. Chief, on the other hand, came from animation and graphic novels. And I think he had, as many animators do, you kind of go towards the ads corporate space, and he burnt out. So actually, when we first were together, he wasn't interested in animation. He's like, I don't want to set up an animation studio. I'm like, but that's what you do. You know? You make comics and animation, so why not? I'm like, why don't we make digital art for social impact? Right? Let's not work for the corporates. Let's not do the ad work. You know, let's create beautiful visual content that can assist the work of social movements. You know, that can help organizations spread their messages. You know, through good storytelling, beautiful illustrations, tasteful movements. You know. And because I had that background, I worked in that space. I understood what the client or the partner wanted. However, when we started, we made a pact. We were very interested in developing our own IP.
All right.
So we said, let's start out by doing 75% client work or partnership work. I like to call it partnership work. Client work is a bit, you know, because it is a partnership in a way. And, you know, slowly we can start to develop our own IP. And then we had children. Okay. This is very important.
Okay.
So I have two young boys.
How old are they?
5 and 1. 5 and 2. Oh, no, 5, almost 2. So 5 and 2.
Okay.
And I went on the internet, like many parents, you know, because I wanted to find African nursery rhymes. I was very interested in finding like children's songs that come from the continent, from East Africa in particular, but I was open to the whole continent.
Right.
I didn't want to hear Baby Shark. I didn't want Cocomelon. Sorry, but I wasn't interested in that content, right? And I found nothing. I found very little. I found very little. Okay. Very little. Especially very little from the region. I did, however, come across a nursery rhyme series from Central and Western Africa. Okay. And it's called Comptine d'Afrique, which means African nursery rhymes in French. And it was this really simple animation with beautiful music, really beautiful, crisp, well-produced music.
Yeah.
And my kids loved it. You know,
as much as they didn't understand French.
No, or you know, there's Lingala,
Yes.
there's Kiswahili,
Oh, nice.
there's, you know, there's a lot of languages being spoken, and they loved it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, we can do this for East Africa and beyond.
Yeah.
So that was in 2020.
Okay. And this is
COVID.
After how long after having created the Freehand Studios?
Like 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like 2 years into creating Freehand Studios.
And this is before Pungulu?
This is before Pungulu.
Okay.
Yes, this is before Pungulu.
Okay.
So animation takes very long, especially like original IP.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted. You need to be very, very patient.
All right.
I think you need to be a bit naive and not know.
Yeah.
I think
because it does help.
Yes, I think if people knew how long it would take,
then they'd get
I don't know if they would do it. So I wanted them to have access to content where the characters looked like them, where the environments and the surrounding looked like them as well.
Very familiar to them. Yeah.
Yes, I'm also from a country where there was very little representation of our people, of our culture in the media that we consumed.
Yeah.
We got a lot of content from Italy, but we're not Italians, you know.
Yes.
From the UK, from the US, and I never read books, or I read very little books in my language.
Yeah.
I didn't want the same for my children.
Why was it very important for you, not just as a mother, but as a creator, to have content that would be familiar to, you know, the African?
Because I believe it helps with self-esteem. I think children's identities and their sense of belonging is also built on what they consume on content.
Very true.
You know,
Yeah.
so if all my children's books, you know, have Caucasian characters and snow, they can't relate with that. You know. So yes, and because I'm a parent who wants children who, you know, have good self-esteems and grow up to be proud Africans, you know, that was really, really important to me. I'm also very well aware that a lot of things have not been documented yet. Right. Okay. And we very quickly found out that children's songs are not documented over here. And there are so many children's songs from every different community. Imagine you do 52 times 10. I don't know.
Yes.
But every community that we go to or that we speak to have a lot of these children's songs. And Nairobi kids know none of them. It's true. How many
Unless your grandmother is singing to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how many English nursery rhymes do we know?
Yeah, very many.
Countless.
All of them.
Countless.
Yes.
How many nursery rhymes from Kenya? Children's songs from Kenya. So that was worrying to me. And I was like, oh my God, there's something that we can actually do over here. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So we can create 5 minutes, like simple, it was 3 minutes, now it's 5. We can create short animated videos and pair it with this beautiful music. And that is how Uli and Tata's African Nursery Rhymes was born.
Nice.
So Tata's my son, his nickname.
Okay.
Uli is our business partner's Manu's daughter.
Okay.
So that's how, so it's them, it's Uli and Tata, right? And they're from Nairobi. This is how the story is. Yeah. So first of all, it's a 2D animated series. Okay. And it follows Uli and Tata, who are siblings, on their adventures in search of Africa's nursery rhymes.
How old are the two characters?
5.
Okay.
5, 6.
Right.
It's targeted to kids between 2 and 6 years old. And one day they're at home. They live in a typical Nairobi estate. Yeah. There's a lot of concrete everywhere. It's very hot. It's during a drought. And they're bored and they decide to go rummage in a storeroom. Okay. Right? And they find 2 instruments. One is the orutu or the shiriri. Yeah. And the second is an esukuti drum. And they play these instruments and they summon a great Rutarako from Kakamega Forest. Right? Okay, yeah. And I'll speak more about Kakamega Forest and why it's central.
Important in this story, yeah.
And so this talking giant magical bird turns up and he takes them across the country. Yeah. Right? In search of these songs. And in every episode, they go to a different community.
Yeah.
And they meet the people, they learn about the flora and the fauna. So it's very rooted in culture, Kenya's cultural and natural heritage.
Yeah.
And we hope to go out. We're going to Tanzania this
That's
year.
beautiful. Okay.
Which we're very excited about.
Yes.
Because these borders of ours are also very futile.
Very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the pilot episode, so in 2021, we received a grant from the Kenya Film Commission. And what you remember, they had a film empowerment grant, and they gave us seed funding to develop the animation, and we produced a pitch or a teaser, and we did that in Kakamega Forest.
Nice.
And
how was that experience for you in Kakamega Forest?
Was incredible. So before we received the grant, we tried to develop some concept arts.
Okay.
Here from Google.
Okay.
Wait, I'm telling you, if I show you that concept art,
yeah,
it's so far from the reality. And one thing we quickly noticed was we absolutely cannot depict this country, its richness, its diversity through Google. We cannot.
It's not as authentic as it should be.
So we went to Kakamega Forest and we were blown away. None of those pictures on Google could depict that vast, thick rainforest, you know.
Yes.
And the arts that came out after the research trip was beautiful and authentic.
How do you work with communities within the different regions that you go to?
Yes.
To be able to authentically tell the stories that you want to be able to create, and how impactful is that socially?
Yes. Yeah. So we've set up a dedicated research team.
Okay.
So part of Uli and Star's African Nursery Rhymes, it's very rooted in research.
All right.
So we have a field producer, a music researcher, flora and fauna researcher, a videographer, field sound recorder as well.
Yeah.
And first thing we do is we reach out to musicians.
Okay.
Number one.
Yes.
Right? Because music is very much at the center.
And you're creating this animation around the different...
we find songs that belong in the public domain.
Okay.
We don't create new songs. So we're actually looking for songs that already exist and belong to the public.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we reach out to musicians. We reach out to historians of that area.
All right.
People who work in the cultural sector, to the county government as well.
Yeah.
To schools. We always visit schools when we're there, and listen to the children, listen to how they sing.
Yeah. Do they always know the songs from your experience?
From Shags, they do, yes. Okay. Kids in the rural areas still have these songs. In fact, we used to use disappearing nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
They're not disappearing in rural parts. Yeah. In urban spaces, they don't really exist.
Why do you think that is the case? Is it because they still have the grandparents with them?
Yes, I think so, right? And you have a community that speak the same language, so they still know these songs. Of course, anything that isn't documented is at risk of being lost.
Very true.
Right? Yeah. But yes, kids in rural areas do know a lot of these songs, which is wonderful. So we listen to these songs, we speak to musicians, and then normally there's one or two songs that keep coming up and have a beautiful message.
All right.
Right?
Yes.
So there are some communities, not in Kenya, I think I've not met one where nursery rhymes can be quite scary, but in Kenya they're very linked to the land.
Yes.
To trees, to the water, to camels, to a mountain. So you'll find that the majority of the nursery rhymes that we pick and that we listen and source are in some way or form connected to nature.
Wonderful.
To farming, right?
Yeah.
And because environmental awareness is very important for us, we've decided we want to educate our children in cultural and natural heritage awareness. I don't know, there are so many words. Instead of the STEM. You know, you hear about projects in Africa, it's like, oh, STEM. We're like, you know.
That's your differentiating factor.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we also think that's very important. Other than literacy, of course, that cultural and natural literacy is very important to us as well. Yes. For me, I'm a social scientist, so these are the things that you know, that I'm interested in. So yes, so we go, we meet with musicians. One thing that we said we want to do is we want to leave, we want to put some resources in the county as well. And that's why the research is important, you know. You can go to your grandmother and ask her for a song, you know, but why not go to where the song comes from? Why not record and pay the musicians that are in this community?
Wonderful.
We run workshops. We do a half-day workshop as an introduction to animation in the communities as well. So we teach them, we introduce them to just animation and say, hey, there are schools in Kenya, you know, this is what animation is. There are schools in Kenya that teach it. There are online courses that teach it as well. Just showing that it's a viable market and that it's an industry.
Do you intend to take back the animation that you create with the nursery?
Oh my God, it's a must. It's a must.
Beautiful.
We'd love to.
Very nice.
That is called an impact campaign. So it would be absolutely wonderful for us to go back to these communities. Although, interesting thing about animation, right? As it is in its current form. And now I'll speak a little bit about the industry and the business of animation. So content is currently being created on the continent. So you have Kizazi Moto that came out. You have Iwaju. Amazing, like super beautiful, high quality animations. But do Africans have access?
No.
Which is fine. However,
why do you think it's fine?
Well, it's a choice. It's a choice it's not fine on the grand scale, but I'm also happy for my colleagues, right? Who are creating content that is being watched by the world. For us as a studio, we made a pact. Me, Manu, and Chief, my two partners. And we said, no matter what happens, African kids need to watch this show.
Beautiful.
We are making it for our children. So it's very important that they watch it, right? So the route that we would like to take is YouTube, because it's accessible.
Everybody has a phone on them,
Yes, let's say almost everybody. And then you have Akili Kids TV, for example, which is Kenya's free-to-air kids show.
And there you have partnerships.
And that's where the partnership comes. So that is our choice. I think the Kizazi Motos and the Iwadus are important because now there's a spotlight on the continent.
Very important. Something that we've been actually waiting for a very long time.
And it's important that they were acquired by these big companies, right? Yes, they're produced in collaboration with, because now Africa is on the spot. So they create that watershed moment. So yes, that's why. So I thank them for that, because now there's an interest. When we go to animation marketplaces and they hear you from Kenya, they're interested, right?
Because they've seen something that's quality that's been out there.
And also the content is new, it's unique, it's authentic. And I think in the industry at the moment, there's a real thirst for content that has, exactly, something that has not been seen before. So it's a really interesting time.
Are you riding on that opportunity?
Of course, definitely, 100%.
Yes. How you placing yourself and how you putting together your content to ensure that it's not just reaching the African market, but then being able to be accessed globally.
I'm going to be honest with you. Primary target audience is Africans on the continent and in the diaspora. Of course, the themes are scripts, focus on very universal challenges that all children face. But again, it was important for us to say, okay, this is our primary target audience. And the diaspora is also very important as well. And I mean, the gap is gaping. You go on YouTube and you try and find content for young African children. It's hardly there. And I'm sure that there are lots of parents out there who are just waiting for something like this to come out. And that is who we're making it for. I think the global audience will definitely be there. The songs are fun. The images are beautiful, you know. But yes, Glocal. They call it glocal.
Global, local.
Yes, exactly. Glocal.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at how traditional African storytelling has impacted the way you're telling your stories, what other projects have you worked on apart from Uli and Tata that go into African themes and African stories?
Yeah, so we worked on a transmedia project called Trust.
Okay.
That was 1 or 2 years ago. I think two years ago, maybe.
Yes.
Where we created a graphic novel based in a kind of near African future. The place was a fictional place called Mohenga Land, but very much based on Kenya, you can tell. And it kind of looks at, future technologies and how they can support activists in preserving their culture, heritage, so on and so forth. So we turned the graphic novel into a motion comic.
Nice.
As well. It's online, free. It's a Trust motion comic.
We'll make sure we put all the details on where
that's wonderful.
This can be accessed.
Yeah, so that was quite a big project that we worked on a couple of years ago. Again, we're also working on a graphic novel at the moment, very exciting, called Joa Kali. Well, no, it's a temporary name. It might change. But basically what we're doing is we're collaborating with artists in South Africa, in Cape Town, and also 2 academics. And these 2 academics were carrying out research on informal workers in Nairobi, in Dagoretti Corner in particular, and in Cape Town, in a place called Delft, which is in Cape Flats. And basically they were looking at the innovation that happens within these informal sectors. A lot of the time, from what I understand, because I'm not an academic, kind of Western academia looks at the informal sector in a negative light. But they said, okay, it works and it's sustainable. So let's see what works in this and how it can also help other businesses. So they came to us and said, we want to translate some of our findings into a comic book, a graphic novel, a story, fiction, right? Not a paper. And it's, so what they did is they barely gave us any of the findings. They told Chief, go conduct research
yourself
with these mechanics in Dagoretti Corner.
Nice.
So Chief spent a month, right? Just going there every day, watching mechanics work, how they interact with each other, studying the environment. And then he had 2 sessions with the academics and to see if what they found is what Chief was finding, because they didn't want to, they didn't want to taint his experience, right? So yes, so we're working on that at the moment, which is really exciting. I would say, I'd love to say 2024, but let's say maybe beginning of 2025. I think it's possible it will come out by the end of this year.
By the end of this year.
Yes. So we stop up for a bit.
Yeah.
It's really been exciting to work with artists from South Africa as well.
How important is a partnership, especially because you're telling an African story?
Yes.
You know, the collaborations and the Africa partnerships, how important are they, and how easy are they to get for somebody who might be here as a Kenyan and is trying to get to reach somebody who has a like-minded spirit into storytelling? How do they go about it?
I think it's quite easy. I don't know. I just find like animators and comic book artists to just be nice people in general. And when you reach out to people, there's a real kind of enthusiasm. It's been absolutely wonderful. I mean, even with Uli and Tata, when we expand beyond Kenya, we go to different communities all over the continent. Our idea is that we will actually collaborate with script writers, musicians, animators from those countries as well. And maybe kind of enter a kind of co-production agreement. It's good? Wait for it to pass. Yes, it's good. I think there's so much that we can learn from each other. There's differences, there's similarities. but yeah, I think that collaboration is absolutely wonderful. And this is why I really encourage people to, as much as they can, of course, try and attend these platforms like Naiccon, for example, or these marketplaces. So there's Kalasha within Kenya, then there is Durban Film Arts in South Africa. There's one, I forgot the name, but there's a big one as well in Cote d'Ivoire.
Beautiful opportunities to be able to meet and network.
Yes, of course, the financing is not always easy. But for example, a lot of these festivals have pitches that you can, like pitching programs that you can apply to.
That's beautiful that you're talking about that, because I'd like us to talk about initiatives that have been able to support you, organizations that have actually held your hand in helping you build what you're building right now.
Yes. I mean, if you look at Ulian, that was Kenya Film Commission.
They
were the first ones to support us, which I'm really proud of.
All right.
Because it was Kenyan money, you know, it was, which is incredible. That it's wonderful that Kenya Film Commission, which is a Kenyan state organization, gave us that seed funding to get us off the ground. So I'm very grateful for that, and proud as well. Then, of course, there's Creation Africa, which is the French government's creative entrepreneurship program for Africa. So we were part of the first cohort of Kenyan digital companies, right, to be given a grant. And with that funding, we were able to set up our studio.
Beautiful.
So currently we're about 35 people.
Wow.
As part of Pungulu Productions, right?
So what came up with that name? Let's talk about the name first.
So Freehand, so just to be clear, so Freehand Studios is our studio where we create, let's say, content for adults, right? So graphic novels, as you know, Chief is very like adult graphic novel style, where we do our collaborations with social movements or academics. So that is more of an adult-facing approach. Pungulu Productions is for the kids.
Who came up with that name?
It was Manu, our partner.
Right,
Okay. Whenever our kids would fall, he would go Pungulu Pa.
You know.
And it was so funny because we were going to call it's Uli and Tata Limited, and then I sent a message and I'm like, give me 3 names. You know, when you're applying for a company,
they said you have 3.
And he went Pungulu Pa Productions. I'm like, oh my god, that's the name. That's the one. It just had a real ring to it. You know, and just was so playful. When I call the bank, they laugh. They're like, I always wanted to talk to Pungulu Pa Productions. Just make people happy.
It does.
And and we wanna make people happy through our content. You know, we want to make people and kids happy.
Yes. What do you get all the inspiration for the stories that you put together at Freehand Studios?
Oh my.
Is it? I know part of it is African oriented, but is it all of it?
I mean, no, it depends. There is a focus on African content for sure, on African stories, because we're here, right? Chief, who's a creative director at both Freehand and Pungulu Productions. He's also an author and an illustrator. You can only tell your own stories. It's not easy to tell stories of other people.
It's true.
I believe that good stories are generally quite authentic. They are a reflection of your experiences in your life. And I believe that our generation here is just running to document, you know, our life, our experiences, what has happened in the last 100 years, which has shifted society from so much, you know. There's just so many stories to be told. There's so much to document that there's this urgent rush and there's this responsibility that if we don't do it, who is going to do it for us? You know? So that is where the kind of push and the impetus to tell these stories.
How's the reception been? Are people accepting it?
Yes, of course, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely.
Are they buying it?
We'll see with Uli and Tata.
Maybe from the past projects.
Yeah, yes. I think, to be honest, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
When Chief created Art of Unlearning, so that was his first printed graphic novel.
All right.
Right? The first one that was like physically printed.
Okay.
People were like, we had spoken to a distributor, I think, or publisher.
All right.
And they were like, don't bother printing more than 200 copies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In the first week, we had sold like 300.
Wow.
Or 400.
Wow.
So
Just
I think
locally?
Just locally.
Just locally.
Yeah. We sold a bit. We did a crowdfunding campaign. The crowdfunding campaign was mostly supported by people outside, but Kenyans bought the book when it was ready.
Beautiful.
You know,
Yeah.
we had a launch and it was just sold
out. Yes.
So I think there's a little bit of a negative perception.
Of course, we are in Africa.
Of how much people are willing to like invest. People like, it won't sell, or people won't buy.
Yeah.
Which is which I find to be very untrue.
Yeah.
People still call us about Art of Unlearning. Even like we stopped printing and just people keep calling us asking for it,
yes, Yes.
So yes, I do think there's an interest.
How, as a studio, are you changing that perception?
That's a very good one. Just create good stories.
Right.
Create good, high quality stories.
Yeah.
So with Uli and Tata, it's there's a lot of work being put into it.
Yeah.
But I'm extremely confident that it's going to do well. I'm extremely confident that African parents are going to watch this, are going to share it with their friends. I have that very deep belief because I'm a parent myself, so I'm like, if I want this so much, I'm sure that there are other parents out there who want this.
Yeah.
We have to market ourselves well,
of course,
which we struggle at a lot of the time, and it's also a matter of resources. But we've been lucky.
Yeah.
The Creation Africa grant. Now we via Manu's an archeo explorer.
All right.
Because he's a wildlife videographer, and he was given a Wayfinder grant from National Geographic.
Yeah.
So we've been supported. So now there's no excuse. But yes, we need to make sure that people actually watch this content.
Yes.
And they fall in love with the characters, and they fall in love with the people. Because we can't just expect to put stuff out there and for it to reach people, especially nowadays with social media where there's so much fighting for our attention. There needs to be that effort.
So you've just spoken about the issue with funds as a challenge. What are some of the other challenges that you faced in your journey so far?
Hey, there's so many.
Let's talk about them.
I mean, so first of all, a lot of animators are creatives, right? So there's so much talent in Kenya. Let's talk about Kenya.
Yes.
But people don't know how to write a pitch deck, for example, or a pitch bible. Maybe they don't have the resources, to go to these markets, to find these funds. Us getting to where we are took us having to do client work, and via that client work we kind of put money into Uli and Tata at the beginning. Producers are such important people. Find someone who will write those proposals and do that pitch deck and go and speak to people. Don't do it on your own. I think having a team is really important. That believes in each other and tries to build your vision. So the lack of funding and access to resources is a problem. Equipment is expensive.
Very expensive. Very, very expensive.
It's so expensive. So for us to compete on a global market, you need that serious kind of investment. The lights going out, for example.
Which they do.
So now we had to get a solar inverter, which we hadn't budgeted for. But we're like, we can't afford to lose 5 days of work.
Impossible.
In a year. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say that's the resources. is a problem.
Yeah.
The lack of capital to start a studio
Yes.
is very difficult, and the lack of, I wouldn't say exposure, because I think people here are very well connected to the outside world. They know what's going on, but it's just, again, getting there.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would really love to see, you know, more support to send Kenyan creatives to Annecy Film Festival,
to be able
in
to
France,
showcase.
Durban Film Art, even Kalasha. You know what I mean? Because I know there's a lot of ideas. I believe there needs to be like more investment. Let me call it investment, because this is an industry, by the way. This is not charity work. This is not like, oh, I'm helping. This is an industry, right? And we should be focusing on growing the industry. And I think like Creation Africa has understood that, for example. So that's why they're putting money into the infrastructure, into the capacity building. There also needs to be more investment in business, in creative entrepreneurship, right? How do these founders, me and Chief and Manu, turn this thing into a sustainable business? How do we make this sustainable? How do we make sure when the funds run out,
you can still stand?
We can still stand, and we can still continue to run our studio,
and you can still support the many people that you've employed right now.
Exactly. So these are some of that's my biggest challenge as a
producer.
producer. Yes.
and what it's interesting that you actually bring that up. What does a producer's life look like for you?
A producer is a visionary.
Okay.
Just like a creative director. Maybe not in the aesthetics, but they can see where something starts, and they can see when something ends, where something ends. You need to be there throughout. You need to have an organized mind. Very important. And that marries so beautifully. So producers are creatives. I think good producers are.
Are they all though?
I think it's important that they are.
It's an advantage.
I call myself a creative producer. Because if I was only interested in money and schedules, then I wouldn't understand.
You put your heart into it.
Yes. So I'm involved in everything from script writing to the research. And again, you're that line from the beginning, from the beginning of the pipeline to the end of the pipeline. Right? So yes, I think it's important you're also a creative, but you need to be organized. You need to have that, mind. You need to be able to see in the future and where you're going. You need to understand strategy. Where are we going to be in 3 years? I think those are there was another thing that I remembered, wanted to mention, but I forgot. But
I'm
it
sure
will come back.
Before we finish.
But strategy is very important. But Anne, to be honest, like I come from a social science, mostly organization, NGO background. I knew nothing about business, So I've had to learn the hard way. We're part of an incubator at the moment. There's interesting things happening at the moment.
Let's hear them out.
It's called a free creation. So it's the other way around. It's also, so it's run by a number of a consortium. And basically they've selected 30 creative enterprises from the continent, and we're currently in an incubator. Now we pitch. We're going to pitch soon for funding, and that funding needs to go into growth. See,
beautiful.
Not into content, just in how are you going to grow your product, exactly, whatever it is, or your business. Which has been really helpful, and I'm getting mentorship for the first time in my life. I understand. I'm starting to understand. How do you make businesses sustainable? How do you grow your products? And I've never really had that before. So I think that is also very, very important. We need to treat animation and comic books as an industry.
Yes, there you go.
Yes,
there you go. Okay. What opportunities do you see for the studios? And not just for you on your end, but even for Africa.
There's a lot of, first of all, a lot of animation studios in the West don't create their animations in the West. They're conceptualized in the West, and then they outsource a lot of the work. So there is humongous interest, right, in having Africa as a space to outsource work. I think us creating our own content is very, very important, but it's also another industry and another way for income, right? So we're also want to start have a service work arm.
All right.
And we have our first clients,
Okay,
which I can't mention because it's under NDA.
Yes, that's
But
good.
they're big.
Good.
We all know they are,
All right.
and they've come to us. And I met them at a market in Cape Town.
Beautiful.
Yes,
And that's why you were talking about how important it is for us to be able to network.
It's so important because they say, "Oh, I need a studio in East Africa or Kenya or Africa," and they remember you and they contact you. So just as there's a need for kids content that is created here and is for our children, there's also a market where people are looking for animators.
Outsourced services.
Of course, it needs to be of a certain quality.
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
But unfortunately, I have heard this while at these markets. There is a bit of a perception, for example, that, the quality isn't good here, or people don't meet deadlines. But when we started with Uli and Tata, we weren't sure that we were going to find our animators from here. We said, maybe we'll find half from Kenya and we'll find half in Nigeria or South Africa
or India
or India. We wanted to try and keep it as African as possible. But yes, we considered a lot of things because my heads. So we have heads of departments who are all Kenyans.
All right.
And a lot of them teach as well. And they're like, are we going to find all the animators we need here?
Yes.
We found them.
Okay.
And they're not only meeting deadlines, but they're producing amazing
quality work. Yes.
Amazing quality work.
Yes.
So I think that there's a lot of people here with skills. They just need to be put into the right
opportunity
workspace.
setting.
Yes. And in a pipeline.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe, because I've seen this myself, that when you put people into a pipeline, when you put them into a professional structure, you know what I mean? And there's a professional work culture where timelines are important, but you're fair. People just excel.
They thrive in what they're doing.
They thrive. And honestly, we've been amazed by what we've seen.
Okay.
There are very big now there are very big animation companies. In Nigeria, for example, in South Africa, of course, we know
it is
them.
The biggest.
It is, yes.
In Africa.
So it's definitely growing.
Yeah.
We want to be the Kenyan one that people are like, Pungulu Productions, Freehand.
And it's such a catchy name, they won't remember.
Yes. So there's definitely so much opportunities.
Wonderful.
Yes, so many opportunities.
Yes.
One thing that I would like to share from my experience as well, consistency, right?
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Okay.
If you have a story or you have an idea that is very dear to your heart and you believe in, don't give up. Get feedback from people. I think feedback is very important.
Yes.
Share it with your colleagues, with your friends, and grow it from there. Authenticity, I think, so important. Right?
Yeah.
Be in your storytelling, in what you depict as well visually. Be as authentic as you can. Research. Don't just, a lot of people told us, why are you spending so much money on
just
research?
Google.
You know why? Like, what's the point? But I know, and I've seen that when you invest in research, the output is so much. It just on another level. You can see it, and you can feel it. Right.
And I think even the people who are partaking of the content that you're putting together can actually tell.
That's it.
Yeah.
Develop good characters. Story. So important as well. These are the areas that we tend to, sometimes we look at pre-production and development, and we focus a lot on the animation, on the equipment, but like characters, story research are all so important. And I don't think we give them enough time or resources. So these areas are all really important. And I feel like do what you can with what you have, with the resources that you have. Simple is beautiful.
Simple is beautiful.
Yeah. You saw Trust.
Yes, I did.
Right?
Yes.
It's very simple.
Very simple, it's true.
It's very simple. We said, oh, this is what we can do with the resources that we have.
Yes.
Let's make it the best that we can.
Do you publish here? Do you print here? Sorry.
Yes, we print here.
Print here.
We do print here.
Okay.
We do print here. We print here. Yes. It's not always easy and it's quite expensive, but we do print here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want to be able to achieve in the next maybe 5 to 10 years?
Oh my goodness. Okay. No, it's quite easy for me.
Yeah.
I want our stories to reach people, primarily Africans.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
On the continent and all around the world. But of course, we want to reach global audiences. We want our stories to travel far and wide, be it our comic books, be it our animations. And yeah, I would like us to be involved in growing an industry in Kenya that is recognized, that is respected. You know, that employs people, that creates beautiful content. I think if in any way we can contribute to that, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Will you still use your creativity to be able to impact socially?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So if you look at Uli and Tata, for me, Uli and Tata is it's such a political thing. You know what I mean? Giving our children access to these stories is incredibly important.
So how are you going to leverage on the digital platforms to be able to distribute globally?
Yes. Yeah, so I think for us, YouTube is great in many ways, right? Even with Trust, for example, we went to YouTube because you can upload your things for free.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you can reach audiences as well. There are many different platforms, by the way. There's digital platforms and there's physical platforms as well. Again, as for digital, I think because of our target audience, we'll definitely focus on YouTube. And then hopefully we can also engage other streamers who can see how many viewers we have, you know, and put it on different streamers for all different kinds of audiences. Sorry, can I take
No worries,
this?
just take it.
Sorry.
We understand.
Oh, it's all right. It's fine. Sorry. I'm a panic now about my son.
Don't try.
So I'll just go a little bit before.
Digital platform, YouTube.
Yes. So YouTube is great because of the number of people that you know it can
access your content.
Exactly. And then hopefully, you know, it will find we can license it to other platforms as well. The big streamers, the smaller streamers as well, because there are a lot of streamers and VOD platforms within Africa and the continent as well, who I think will be interested in the content. You know, when you look at books nowadays, you also have webcomics. It's called webtoons. Webtoons. You know, so if you don't have the resources to print, or maybe you don't want to print, you know, you can also be online. You can be on the web. Even things like social media, Instagram. There's so many different ways that we can now share our content. And then there's also physical, right? One good thing about creating content that has good characters is that you can then maybe create books. You can decide to create games. You can decide to create comic books.
Are you thinking in those lines?
Yes.
Good.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Definitely.
Maybe, you know, and first of all, we need to grow our audience. Because the truth is people will only buy books and toys if they kind of know the characters, right? So that's why audience. Build your audience. Because then you can, you know, go into different directions depending on what people want.
Would you say that this is an industry where you can sustain yourselves financially?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I would like to hope so.
All right.
I think it is. I think there are lots of opportunities. But we're pioneers. We're all pioneers in this industry.
In Africa, yes.
This is the interesting thing.
Yeah.
We're all testing and trying things out.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an industry where you're going to make, millions.
Initially.
I think we're in it. We're in it for the heart.
Yes.
But to sustain ourselves, I think that's possible with the right mentorship, with the right resources, with the authenticity, with the right stories. I definitely think it's possible.
Yeah.
And if we can show that to everybody else, then that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be your parting shots? What do you want Sarah, the producer, to be remembered for?
Oh my, to be remembered. I don't even know if I want to be remembered. I'd rather my products be remembered.
Yes.
Yes. If if I'm not there anymore, I wish that Pungulu or what Pungulu decided to do can continue and doesn't die with me or end with me. End with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really bothered about being remembered.
Okay.
I'd just rather contribute to building an industry. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That can that can share stories and employ people and make our children happy. Yeah, that is what I'm interested in.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much too.
Awesome.